Welcome to the section 1 basics of theory of error, and it is the lecture 1 observation and measurement. So in this lecture we will talk about what actually observation is and what is the measurement. So before talking about observation and measurement, I would like to explain you how we actually define the surveying. Okay. So surveying basically can be, the classic definition that you read in some standard textbook. Surveying is the art of determining the relative position of a point with respect to some references. Okay, so what here I actually want to tell you, let's say this is a point on the surface of Earth, let's say point A, or it is some point or some pillar, and there are some points, let's say this point, this point. Okay, this is a reference point 1, this is reference point 2. So just assume I want to locate this point A with respect to R1 and R2. So what can I do? I will simply take a measurement of distance between first R1A and second R2A. So wherever they intersect these two lines, this would be the position of A. So at any point of time I want to relocate a point A, this way I can relocate with reference to R1 and R2. So this is just a very basic simple concept setting thing. Okay, so what actually we are doing here? So when in the first initial stage, when we are talking about the surveying and its definition, the very core thing, the very core word that we need to understand is the measurement. So what is the measurement and what is observation? So it is very important to understand the difference between the observation and a measurement and how they actually relate to each other. So here just read the two sentences. Measurement must involve observation, and the second one is no measurement is made until something is observed. So I'll try to explain that what this sentence actually want to convey. So take here an example, a very simple example of measuring a distance between 2 points. Let's say these points are point A and point B. Two observers are standing here. Okay, these are the points. Let's say the approximate distance between the point is a 20 meter and we are using a 30-meter tape. Okay, we suspend the tape. Okay, the two observers are stretching the tape between point A and B. Let's suppose we want to measure it's approximately 20 meter. So here one observer has set its tape, set his tape at 20 meter, and from that 20-meter tape graduation, let's say this, like this is now like dropping plumb bob, dropping the plumb bob over this point, this one, and centering it over the point exactly, and also applying a pull. After once he set, he has stretched it and centered over the point. Now this observer will also need to apply the same pull. Okay, and once he applied the same pull, now he will on the tape, this tape graduation, he will move his plumb bob over the center point. Okay, and after when the center, then the plumb bob centered over the point on the ground, now he takes the final value. Okay, so they are observing. So there are so many elementary operation, you can say these are the elementary operations, these are elementary operations, or also you can say this is the observation. So they are observing the tape is aligned properly, it is also centered properly over the point, and finally there a proper reading is also observed. Okay, so these are the elementary operations or the observations these two persons are performing to measure a single distance. So before finally making the measurement, let's say it comes around 19.889 meter. So before saying that the final measurement is 19.89 meter, a lot of observation, a lot of elementary operations, or you can say the observations are being done by these observers, observer 1 and observer 2. So the measurement is the final act, or the measurement is the final act that they perform at the last and get some values of a physical quantity. So I just want to also introduce one term, physical quantity. So a distance between these 2 points you can call a physical. This is a physical distance. Example of a physical quantity. Physical quantity. So after observing a lot of elementary operations, performing a lot of observations, finally they make the measurement, that is 19.89 meter, for example. So the final reading of 19.89 meter is not a single task. A lot of observations are involved in this before making the final measurement. So this was just kind of a simplified explanation for the this thing, measurement of a distance. But there are other elementary operations, observation, that are also required if you want to refine the final output or the final value. Like you need to observe the temperature, because every tape or the chain are kind of calibrated at a certain temperature. If during the measurement your temperature is not, not the standard temperature, your environment temperature, you need to record that temperature, and you will have to apply later on correction for the value, for the final measured value. You also need to observe that in general these two observers are like pulling, but if you want to more accurate or the precise kind of a good measurement, what you will have to do, you will have to measure the tension also, that the tension is at both the end is same, and if there may be a sag, that also need to be observed, and after this observation you get the final measured value. So I think now you can appreciate that there are a lot of observation before making the measurement. Now we will see those both. So these are the two sentences that we wrote. Measurement must involve observation, like a lot of observation of pulling, measuring, centering. This kind of observation is required before measurement. And the second one, no measurement is made until something is observed. You'll have to observe a lot of things. After that only you make the measurement. So you can also see by the another example that when you do the leveling, so before making the measurement, the observer first ensure that the level instrument is properly leveled, and he also checks that there should not be any parallax before reading this stuff, and it also be required to ensure that before taking the final reading the staff is also perpendicular. So you can see it by the circular bubble, which is located, which is provided with this staff, that it is centered. So this kind of a elementary operation you perform, and after that finally after observing all those elementary operation, you take a reading, and that reading you call it a measurement. Okay, so the final key takeaway from this lecture is that Observations are the various elementary operations that we perform before taking measurement. And measurement is the final act that gives us a value for the desired physical quantity. In the previous example of distance measurement, the physical quantity was the distance between A and B, and the value is 19.89 meter, for example. So that's all for this lecture, and this were a basic understanding between the observation and measurement. Thank you. We will meet in the next lecture.